Hello, you wonderful people, and welcome to another episode of SuperFantaFi. This being a show where I talk about TV shows of the supernatural, fantasy, and or science fictional genre. For today's episode, I'm going to talk about Brea Season 3, Episode 3. A lot of really interesting things went down in this episode, so let's break it down. Well, first and foremost, let's start off in present day with Ty, as him and Sam are trying to convince Gavin about everything, which he's, once again, he'd probably be the easiest person to make understand because of the visions he's having. Like, this is him going through it right now, so he's probably able to swallow that a little bit easier than Sam was, and especially when you're able to tell him everything about his family, everything he's currently going through, so, and also this secret project, this military project you're a part of, but Gavin doesn't think he can be any help, and even Ty knew. It's like, either we're going to help him push through this, or we're going to make him retreat even further. And it seems like Gavin chose the later option. And obviously, because of the opening of the episode, we knew this would have some tie-in to Ty's ex, Sophie, which was interesting because it didn't even cross my mind that would be something because I guess because Ty hasn't talked about it a lot. He never really went too much into details. All he said was things kind of fell apart on his part because he kind of pushed her away, with his illness and everything. And so, not because he was sick, but not because of the illness itself, but because of how he acted in response to him being sick and dying. But he uses his opportunity to correct something from the past. And it turns out he's trying to reach out to Sophie. She's going through it. Things didn't work out as a lawyer. Things are not currently working out as a writer. Which apparently in his fury at one point in time, he kind of called her out saying like, oh, it's not going to work. I don't know why you're wasting your time on this. Like, he even admits, he was like, I was I was cruel to you. Like, the fact is, I lashed out all my anger when you were just there to support me, and I took all my frustrations about my circumstances out on you, and you didn't deserve that. And he's trying to reach out to her, but she's not willing to listen to him. It's understandable. This is so, like, I think she was saying, like, the divorce had just gotten finalized. I think she had like signed the papers or something, like, so it is like still such a really fresh wound, and it's like where you are currently, she's not going to listen to a thing you have to say after everything you went through in your marriage and the dark side of it and then the aftermath of it being nasty. It's just, she's not going to listen to you despite him trying to reach out to her. And he said, like, you are going to do something tonight that you won't be able to take back, which I was almost scared for a second. I was like, she didn't like kill herself or something, because we know Ty was going to, but like Ty had never talked about like, Sophie doing that. But we found out what the truth of it was. She already had her demons that she was already dealing with, pills and alcohol, but like those demons resurfaced after their divorce, and she spiraled out. And at an AA meeting, she ended up getting behind the wheel, mixing alcohol and pills, and she blindsided the family. The father ended up in a coma, and he's like, I don't know whatever happened to that situation, because by the time at the time of me going into the sinkhole, in season 1, he was still in a coma, and it's like she has to live with that guilt. And for Ty, he blames himself. It's like, I'm the reason why. This is someone I love, and I broke her heart, and I ended up rippling out and causing so much destruction. Which he's having this conversation with Gavin. It means the world to Gavin, not the world like in a positive sense, but like it means something, because Gavin understands that he feels that guilt of he's spiraling out too, and he's diving deeper and deeper because he doesn't believe there's a way out for him, and he's not reaching for that lifeline because it's easier and a lot less scary to dive deeper into the bottle rather than kind of face because in his mind it's like, I've already made too many mistakes, I've fallen so far, there is no correcting this. And even Gavin's like, hey, Ty, you can tell her, you have the future knowledge. He's like, yeah, but she's not going to listen to me. And Ty even says, I think you're the same way. And so at the AA meeting, Gavin got up there and he says, like, right, we dive deeper into the alcohol because we believe we are so broken we can't be fixed. But that's not the case. As long as we're willing to listen to someone. Because he was like, right, someone told me like they were going to help me, and I did what I normally do. He's like, I retreated. I got angry and retreated because that was a lot easier, because it was scary. You know, having to face all of this. It wasn't something he was willing to, but it's like that person came back. If someone's willing to go that above and beyond, that even when you push them away, they're still there to help, accept that helping hand. It's not the easiest thing, but for Gavin, if it means being able to help his family, and it gave him a different perspective on things. And the same thing for Sophie. So for her, she's talking to Ty afterwards, and it's like, right, I think I'm gonna go to rehab. And he's like, I think that's good for you. He's like, I know things didn't work out for us, but you deserve love and you deserve to be happy, you know? Because she's still thinking like, right, everything you're going through and you're spending this time with me. He's like, no, I'm going through something experimental to help alleviate my circumstances. But at the end of the day, I just want you to be happy. You need to focus on you and not worry about me as much. Which I think is interesting, because I'm like, I guess Ty is not going to run into 2021 Ty. Like, the Ty that's been through this entire show, I don't think he's going to run into himself. Once again, I don't know what the paradox situation is going to look like in that regard. But he is making changes to this timeline, so that once again begs the question, what is going to happen in the long run? Like, is it going to be a situation where this all gets undone? But there was so much progress made on a character level that I'm like, it can't all be like, I mean, some time travel stories end like that, but I'm like, there's no way you're going to do that, right? It's got to be a situation of, just as a sinkhole brings them to the past, everyone from the past comes back to present day. That way they all keep their memories. Like that, to me, that's the only way. Because, like I said, I think we're on a timeline B right now, because this is no longer timeline A, because things are diverging. Like, it'll still be that same end result if they don't stop the sinkhole situation from happening, but it might need to happen so that everything happens so that they can come back. Because once again, we're already changing trajectory. Like, Ty's still in his same mental state, but things changing with Sophie might have an effect on the Ty that's here, the one that hasn't gone to the 10,000 BC. So once again, the ripple effects is going to be the most interesting thing to see how they tackle all of that in this final season. But we also find out that they're being watched. Makes sense, because this is a highly classified military project, so they probably kept tabs on people. I mean, first and foremost, Sam went looking into it for Ty, so that probably already put them on the radar enough. Plus, they probably already were watching Gavin, because they're trying to see, like, especially as we learned in this episode, Gavin's memory gap isn't a natural memory gap. It isn't just because of the visions, which were memories, and his alcoholism. It wasn't just that. He was purposely made to forget everything that was a part of this military project. So, we'll get to that in a second, but I can only assume, like, they've kept tabs on Gavin, and now it's like, okay, so Gavin's meeting up with this Thai guy. Who is this guy? We got to look into him. Sam's got his own military history, so they're doing like, oh, like I said, I don't know which set off red flags first. Sam looking into it, because they could have been following Sam first, and that led them to be like, wait, he's meeting up with Gavin. Gavin's one of the subjects connected to this project. What's going on here? Or, like I said, they could have already been keeping tabs on Gavin, and then they're finding out, like, okay, let's look into this Sam guy. Let's look into this Thai guy. You know, the result is the same, but I'm curious which angle of this, like, who were they watching first and foremost? Like I said, it feels more likely they were probably watching Gavin, just because of like how long it's part of the project and how secretive it is. They probably kept tabs on people. The thing is interesting though is she's rolling around with a gun. So I don't, not unless there's like a descending group amongst that project trying to like take over it. Like maybe that's what's happening in 10,000 BC. Like maybe there's a person that's taking charge of this project that's kind of like gone kind of rogue and done their own thing, and maybe she's part of that descending group. I don't know. So that's definitely going to be interesting to see where that goes. Back in the past, we have some interesting developments all around. First and foremost, we have Layla and Zoe Jesus Christ, I meant Izzy. I don't know where the hell I got the name Zoe from. Sorry. Izzy are bonding. In particular, Layla's going for a hunt because she wants to hunt a boar to prove herself. But from Izzy's perspective, it's like, you don't have to prove yourself to anyone. Like, why are you going so above and beyond? And it turns into a situation where pushing Izzy out of the way of a boar, she gets stuck in some tar. The hunting party is away, so it's like we need to, like, Izzy won't be able to get her out on her own, but Izzy doesn't want to leave her alone. Without proper footing, you won't be able to defend yourself in case any, like, creature attacks you, so I'm going to try and get you out on my own. And they ended up bonding. You know, we find out the motivation behind why she does what she does. Because she's trying so hard to prove something not only to her mother, but also to herself. Because her mom says, like, oh, you don't need to be a warrior. Her mom wants her to be on the council. I guess maybe because her brother and husband were one. And it's just like, you're the only family she has left. Because this also folds into, like, a little bit of what Scott was talking about last episode, the whole story about, like, right, what he heard about Ruth of, like, oh yeah, she killed her husband or whatever. Like I said, I figured someone was probably saying all that probably just to screw with Scott, to scare the Sky person. Just, they were screwing with him. Because we find out this episode how Layla's dad and brother died. They were sick, and for her brother was her biggest like person on her side. In fact, they were twins, and he was a person she could kind of turn to for anything. And so now that she's lost him, like, he was the one that believed that she would be able to hunt a boar and be a great hunter and warrior. And that's why she does this. She does this for her brother to prove, like, yeah, I did it, bro. Like, just to kind of make him proud. And, you know, obviously this conversation hits home for Izzy, not knowing where Josh is or what happened to him. Plus, like, well, she lost her dad. It's like, well, Izzy lost her mom. Her mom's alive, just out there somewhere. But even then, it's like, I don't know for sure that she's alive, and I don't know if there's a means of getting her back. So it's like there's a lot of deep, deep parallels. So luckily, she was able to pull her out, and both of them, bow in hand, ended up putting down a boar. So it's like they did it together. And I was like, yeah, it's kind of neat. And then it's kind of like, for a moment, I was like, are they about to have a moment? But they didn't. But then, like, Zoe, the way, I don't know why I keep saying Zoe, Izzy touched her chin. I was like, wait, oh, so we are catching vibes. And later on, it seems like that's the case, because it's like, right, you know, they both have someone that they can really, like I said, this is the person that's Izzy's able to be around that's around her same age. Once again, like, Josh and her had each other, sure, but like he more so has like Riley, and she doesn't really have anyone else outside of that, because like the person she would confide into and rely on the most is her mom, and her mom is kind of gone, and she has her dad, but her dad's all about, like, they haven't found their footing again, because their foundation has been shaky, like post losing their mom, and now, like, adding Josh to it, it's just like that foundation's a little rocky, but they were stabilizing it a little bit last episode. But it's nice to kind of have that someone, you know, that you care about kind of in your corner. And so it is interesting how, once again, the past has kind of did a lot to help people. And I brought it up last episode, and they bring it up this episode, that both of them are outsiders in their own regards. They feel like outsiders, so that's kind of bringing them together even more. So I thought that was kind of sweet. I was like, oh, I couldn't tell if I was reading too much into it last episode. I was like, I couldn't tell. I was like, is this just going to be a friendship thing, or is it going to be something more? Oh, it's something more, all right. So I was like, oh, that's interesting. Sadly, you're the second person from this group that's not found love in the past, but found love with someone who lives in the past, because you also had, like, the Lucas and Veronica. But like but the example I was thinking of is, like, obviously you have Para and Ty. So once again, how that all is going to work out in the end, who knows? So there's that. But speaking of Veronica, her and Lucas is trying to get on the council, because he's like, right, we need someone who represents us, the Sky people, to kind of help with our best interests and stuff like that. And so Veronica's like, nah, I'm on board. Let's get this done. And so she tries to be his, like, you know, be there on his side, kind of hyping him up in Ruth's eyes, and kind of painting a picture of, like, right, none of us would have thought Lucas would be the leader that he is, but he is someone that we trust his decision. He's looking out for all of us. Like, right, He was, as Judah brought it up in episode 1, it's like, yeah, you were the drug dealer not too long ago. That's what you came here with. It's like, yeah, I was that. And it's shown his growth. But the moment you saw Ruth looking at her, I was like, interesting. I was like, Ruth is taking more of an interest in you, because it's like, right, because you brought out the better in Lucas. You see the good in him. And it's just like that nature in you, bringing out the best in other people. You could be probably a better choice, because you are the foundation that's kind of helped even better him, and you kind of see the good in people. And I think especially after everything that she's been through, the growth that she's had, all the losses that she's had as well, like I think all that is going to play a role. And that's going to be an interesting thing too if we undo everything, because if the sinkhole situation hasn't happened yet, meaning Ella's still alive, because she's here present day. She just doesn't remember being Lily. So there's that angle of it all, which is going to be interesting. If that, once again, to see if like a lot of this gets undone or not in whatever capacity, because it could be a thing of Veronica could still have more time with her sister if this plays out a certain way. Like I said, it just depends on how it all gets handled, and see what they keep and what they like undo, and what mixture of the two things we get. But yeah, Ruth offers the council seat to Veronica, and she tells that to Lucas, and he doesn't respond the best way. You're kind of like, I was kind of thinking like, are we going to do this? I was like, it'd be very nice if he was like, oh my god, babe, congratulations, that's awesome. But he wasn't as receptive, because he's like, wait, what? Because for him, it's like, oh, I was the one that was trying to get the seat. It just felt weird, like, out of the blue. And she's like, well, I guess you're not happy for me. He's like, no, I am. Because she's trying to say, like, you don't need this position to try and prove yourself. I think there is a little bit of that, where it's just like, he's defined himself so much by this leadership position that it's like, so many people rely on me. I have to step up. And if I don't step up, he feels like he's failing his mom, everyone else, and even Veronica and their child. I think that's what it is. And it's also, it's become a little bit of a prideful thing, but I think it's like he's let the position of leader consume him so much that it's like he might have kind of lost sight for a tiny bit. He still has the best of intentions, but yeah, he wasn't as celebratory towards, because in the end, it's like, well, even if it's not me, it's okay. It's Veronica. I know you're amazing. You're awesome. And you're going to do a great job at it. And I'm going to be here to support you. What she's done is be by your side and support you through and through. Sadly, when the shoe was on the other foot, you kind of missed your moment, but I think he's going to make this right next time. So we'll see where things kind of go on that front. And then finally, we have Gavin and Sam. Once again, it's just an interesting parallel of where they are in 2021 versus where they are right now in 10,000 BC, which is ironic to say right now when referring to that far in the past. But either way, they end up going to try and scope out the military base. It's just a scouting mission right now. They're not like making any actual moves, but Gavin's getting this inkling like, I shouldn't go there. There's something I'm forgetting, and it's just something's telling me I should run. And Sam was like, we're not going to go anywhere until you remember, because I've learned in Afghanistan to trust my gut, and that means trusting yours right now. Sadly, they get attacked by I don't know, like a woolly mammoth-esque rhino thing, but it gets blown up on a mine because they're in the landmine field. Luckily, they duck into the woods, but then they get captured. But then, like, someone comes to rescue them. I was like, is it Scott? I figured Scott might have been following them. Did not cross my mind that it would be Maya that saved them. But it makes a lot of sense, because I forgot the title of this episode is Maya. So I was like, okay, that makes a lot of sense. And so she ends up saving him, and obviously she had no idea Gavin was. It makes you wonder, like, how long have they been here then? They couldn't have been, well, I guess they had to, right, because there was all those auroras and everything was brought from different times. So like they are a recent arrival, obviously, so they haven't been here that long. Why would she think that Gavin or his wife is here? Which for her, it's like, I don't know why someone would tell you that I'm the means of getting your wife back. I didn't even know she was missing. So now the question is, whoever reached out to him, it's like, why did they give him specifically the Sierra call sign? Like, why did they lead him towards Maya? That's where I'm going back to my theory of, I think Like, either someone has Eve, or Eve is doing all of this because she needs things to play out a certain way. Once again, she's probably not going to be in most of this season except for, like, maybe the last 2 episodes. Maybe she'll pop up at, I was about to spoil something that came out in the past couple months. Well, it came out like a few months ago that kind of deals with a similar thing of like, hey, somebody disappeared for a while from the story and they didn't come back until like basically the third to last episode, the end of the third to last. You know, if you know, you know. So I was curious, like, if they're going to kind of do a similar thing. I'd expect her probably popping up at like maybe the end of the 4th episode, and maybe the 5th episode explains where she's been, and we conclude all this in the 6th episode. If that's how it is. I mean, once again, we are at the halfway point now, so I have no idea seeing how this is all going to break down, but either way, she confirms my theories of, once again, why were they working on something like this with the military unless they were going to try and like weaponize it? And it's like, yeah, what if a mission goes wrong? You can go back in time and destroy the enemy beforehand. It's like, of course, it makes total sense. Like, you know, you'd be able to try and weaponize and use time travel from a military standpoint. Like, it made total sense. I was like, yeah, that's got to be what they're up to. And it's exactly what they're up to, so. Because Maya's done a lot of stuff she's not proud of, and she tried to run with her daughter. But that was, like, after they got teleported here, and then, like, they managed to get away, but they got separated. So she didn't even know that Petra had been... I figured she'd be used as leverage, as I guessed, but I wasn't sure if, like, okay, because I was about to say, like, how would you use her as leverage when you don't know where her mom is? I was like, not unless you already have her mom, and you're just using her as leverage now, be like, oh, we have your daughter now, we're going to torture her or hurt her, yada, 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 if you don't do what we say type of thing. But it's like, no, they don't actually know where Maya is. So I'm like, how are you going to get word out to her that you have her daughter? Like, how are you going to manage that if you had no idea where she was? Either way, she's, as I brought up earlier, she's the reason why Gavin has that year gap in his memory, because her job was to basically make it so that no one remembered about this project. So she ended up helping wipe Gavin's memory, and now she's going to help restore it, which she ultimately does, but it doesn't give him quite the answers he was expecting. He saw, like, he put in the code to this keypad, and he sees like some kind of microchip. And now it seems like that's what this is all about. It was never about saving Eve. It was about whoever was behind this wanted you, the knowledge in your head, they wanted you to get the microchip. So, once again, this might be someone who has Eve and is forcing all of this. We don't know. Maybe this correlates to all the stuff from the future. Maybe there's no correlation. And you figure like there's still got to be more with that plot thread. So you're like, it's got to correlate in some shape or form. Like I said, someone from like the future is in the past orchestrating all of this military stuff to like try and expedite time travel's creation sooner rather than later. Once again, because they made it seem like, hey, we're from the future and we came up with time travel, but maybe it was like, I don't remember them ever explaining, like, oh, it was some... Maybe they did. Once again, it's been a hot minute since this season 2. I don't remember if they ever explained, like, oh, we took what was already worked on way in the past, which I think they might have talked about that, and then we just basically worked upon it with what we knew in the future, or was time travel always made in the future, where Gavin and his dad and mom and everyone's from, or... Did they build off the backs of like stuff that was already in the process? So like, is it kind of a full circle thing of someone from the future used time travel, but didn't realize they would eventually go back in time and basically help birth time travel, the Ouroboros of it all? I don't know if that's what that's about. Like I said, I don't remember if that's what that ended up being. I don't remember if that's how they went about making time travel. They built upon stuff that was already in progress military-wise, and they just saw it through, or did they start in the future? And like I said, did time travel basically lead to time travel's creation? I don't know. It's definitely going to be interesting to see where all this takes us. Who is the secret, mysterious messenger out there? How will they ever get contact with him? It's like, oh, well, I guess you have to boot the computer back up and probably be like, hey, I found Maya, yada yada yada, so on and so forth. We'll see. We'll have to wait and see how all this plays out. Like I said, we are halfway through the season. It's going to be interesting to see where the back half takes us, how this all plays out. We'll have to wait and see, but really that's all I wanted to talk about. Till the next time we meet, be happy, be safe, live life to the fullest, and enjoy it. Good day, and goodbye.